Have you ever felt different? Not better than others, not worse either, just different. Like you don't fully belong anywhere. Like your mind thinks deeper. Like your heart feels heavier. What if I told you that this is not an accident? What if you were chosen? The feeling you can't explain. There are people in this world who live normal lives. Wake up, eat, work, sleep. And then there are people like you. People who question everything. People who feel everything. People who see what others ignore. You don't just look at life, you analyze it. You don't just hear words, you feel intentions. And sometimes it becomes too much. You feel isolated, even in a crowd. You feel misunderstood, even by your own people. But here's the truth. His is not your weakness. This is your sign. Why God chooses certain people throughout history. Every person chosen for something great felt alone at first. Moses doubted himself. David was overlooked. Jesus was misunderstood. Being chosen by God does not start with comfort. It starts with confusion, because when God chooses someone, He doesn't prepare the path for them. He prepares them for the path. The psychological truth. Let's talk facts. Studies in psychology show that highly aware people often feel isolated. Deep thinkers experience more anxiety. Empaths absorb emotions around them. This means if you feel overwhelmed, if you feel different, there is a scientific reason. But science explains the how, not the why, the spiritual reality. Here's the deeper truth. God doesn't choose perfect people. He chooses broken people, lost people, questioning people, because those are the people who are ready to transform. Your pain, it's not punishment. Your struggles, they are preparation. Why your life feels harder. Have you noticed? Your life hasn't been easy. More struggles, more lessons, more challenges. That's because easy lives don't create strong souls. Gold is purified by fire. Diamonds are created under pressure. And you are being shaped for something greater. Signs, you are the chosen one. If this is you, listen carefully. You might be chosen if you feel like an outsider. You think deeper than others. You go through constant transformation. You lose people often. You feel a strong inner calling. And the biggest sign, you can't ignore it. No matter how hard you try, you keep coming back to this feeling, your mission, even if you don't understand it yet. You don't need to know everything right now. That's the mistake most people make. They want clarity before action, but God works differently. He gives you a feeling, a direction, a calling, not the full map, because faith is walking in the dark, knowing you are not alone. Why you lose people. One painful truth. Not everyone is meant to stay in your life. When you grow, when you evolve, people who don't match your energy naturally fall away. It hurts, but it's necessary, because your mission requires space. You are being guided. Look back at your life. All the moments that didn't make sense, all the failures, all the pain, somehow they led you here. That's not coincidence. That's guidance. Final message. You are not lost. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are being prepared for something you don't fully understand yet. But one day, everything will make sense. And when it does, you'll realize you were chosen all along. There's something about you, isn't there? Not something loud, not something obvious, but something quiet, persistent, impossible to ignore. It shows up in the way you think, in the way you feel, in the way you question things other people accept without hesitation. And maybe, just maybe, you've spent most of your life trying to understand why, because no one ever explained it to you. No one ever sat you down and said, "You're not strange, you're not broken, you're not lost, you're different because you were chosen." And I know that word, chosen, can sound dramatic, almost unrealistic, but stay with me, because what you're about to understand might explain your entire life. You never fit in. And that was the first sign. Let's go back, not to yesterday, not to last year, but to your childhood. Even back then, you felt it. You could be surrounded by people, friends, classmates, even family, and still feel like something didn't quite match. You tried to fit in. You copied behaviors. You followed trends. You adjusted yourself just enough to belong, but it never felt natural. And here's something interesting. Psychologists call this existential awareness, a heightened sense of self and reality that usually develops later in life. But for some people, it shows up early, very early. These individuals often feel different not because they are antisocial, but because their minds are processing reality on a deeper level. That might have been you. Not broken, not weird, just aware. Your mind never stops. And that's not a problem you think a lot. More than most people. You analyze conversations after they happen. You replay moments. You question intentions. Sometimes it feels like your brain is always on, and honestly, it can be exhausting. But here's a fact. Studies in neuroscience show that people with high levels of introspection often have more active default mode networks in the brain. That means you're naturally wired to reflect, analyze, and go deeper. And while the world might label that as overthinking, it's actually a form of deep processing, which is often found in creators, leaders, visionaries, and yes, people with purpose-driven lives. Your struggles were different and more intense. Now let's talk about your life, because this is where things start to connect. Your challenges weren't simple. They weren't surface level. They hit deep, emotionally, mentally, sometimes even spiritually. You've gone through things that changed you, things that forced you to grow faster than others, things that made you question everything. And here's something real. Research shows that people who go through early emotional struggles often develop higher emotional intelligence later in life. Why? Because pain forces awareness, and awareness creates growth. So those moments that felt like they were breaking you, they were also building you. You see through people, even when you don't want to. You've probably noticed this. You can sense when something is off, even if no one says anything. You can feel when someone is being fake. You can detect hidden tension. You can read between the lines. And sometimes you wish you couldn't, because it makes things complicated. But here's the truth. This is called emotional perception, and it's a real studied ability. Some people naturally pick up on micro-expressions, tone shifts, and behavioral inconsistencies. In simple words, you read energy, and not everyone can do that. You've been alone, but not without reason. Let's talk about something deeper. Loneliness. Not just being alone, but feeling alone. Even in a crowd, even with people around, even in conversations. And that kind of loneliness, it hits differently. But here's something most people don't realize. People who are on unique life paths often experience social misalignment because their thinking, their values, their awareness don't match the majority. So it's not that you don't belong anywhere. It's that you don't belong everywhere. And that's a big difference. Your life never followed a straight line. Think about your journey. It hasn't been simple. You've had unexpected turns, sudden endings, unplanned changes, moments where you thought this wasn't supposed to happen, but somehow those moments led you somewhere new. This is something psychologists call nonlinear life progression. And interestingly, it's very common among people who later find strong purpose or meaning in life because their path is not predictable. It's shaped. You keep getting back up, and that's not normal, let's be real. You've been through enough to quit. You've had moments where giving up would have been easier, moments where continuing didn't make sense. And yet, you're still here, still trying, still searching, still moving forward. That kind of resilience. It's not average. Psychology calls this adaptive resilience, the ability to recover and grow stronger after adversity. But in simple words, you're built differently. You feel a calling, but you can't explain it. This might be the strongest sign. There's something inside you that keeps telling you there's more. Even when life is normal, even when things are okay, that feeling doesn't go away. You don't always understand it. You can't always explain it, but it's there. And here's something fascinating. Many people who later discover purpose describe this exact feeling before anything becomes clear. It's like an internal signal, a quiet direction. You were never meant to be normal. Let's say it clearly. You were not designed for an average life, not because you're better than anyone, but because your path is different. Different thinking, different experiences, different purpose, and different often feels uncomfortable before it becomes powerful. Your pain had a purpose. Now let's connect everything. Your struggles, your loneliness, your confusion, your growth. None of it was random because each of those things increased your awareness, deepened your understanding, strengthened your resilience. In other words, they prepared you. You are in the middle of becoming right now. You might not have all the answers. You might still feel confused. You might still be figuring things out. But that doesn't mean you're lost. It means you're in progress. Just like a seed underground, it looks like nothing is happening, but everything is changing. The moment you start to realize there comes a point where everything begins to click, not perfectly, but enough. You start seeing patterns. You start understanding your past. You start recognizing your growth. And slowly, you begin to accept something. You are not here by accident. You don't need to know everything right now. One of the biggest mistakes is waiting. Waiting until you're ready. Waiting until you're sure. Waiting until everything makes sense. But clarity doesn't come before action. It comes through action. Your next step matters more than your full plan. You don't need a full roadmap. You just need the next step. One decision, one action, one move forward. That's how purpose unfolds. Final truth. You are not random. You are not ordinary. You are not behind. You are being shaped for something you don't fully understand yet. But one day, you will. Final line. Viral, powerful. So the next time you feel different, don't question it. Because that difference, that's the proof that you were chosen. The moment everything changes, there will come a moment, not loud, not dramatic, but quiet. A moment where something inside you clicks. Suddenly, you understand. Not everything, but enough. Enough to move forward. Enough to stop doubting. Enough to finally trust yourself. This is the moment your life begins to shift, stepping into your power. You stop chasing people. You stop proving yourself. You stop begging for validation. And instead, you start choosing yourself. You start protecting your energy. You start respecting your time. You start trusting your path. Because now you know, you were never meant to fit in. You were meant to stand out. Your mission reveals itself. Here's the truth. Your mission is not one big moment. It's a series of small actions, helping someone, speaking truth, creating something meaningful. You don't need millions of people. If you change even one life, you are already fulfilling your purpose. Because being chosen is not about fame, it's about impact. The fear before the breakthrough. Right before everything changes, fear comes back, stronger than ever. Your mind will say, what if I fail? What if I'm wrong? What if I lose everything? But here's the secret. Fear appears when you are close to your next level. So don't run from it. Walk through it. You were never alone all this time. When you felt lost, when you felt abandoned, when you felt like no one understood you, you were not alone. Every delay, every rejection, every closed door was protection. God was guiding you, even when you couldn't see it. The final realization, now you see it. Everything makes sense. The pain, the struggles, the loneliness, they were not random. They were necessary to shape you, to awaken you, to prepare you for this exact moment. Your new identity. You are not the same person anymore. You are stronger, wiser, more aware. You don't react like before. You don't think like before. You don't live like before. Because now, you know who you are. And once you know that, nothing can shake you. Message directly to you. If you're hearing this right now, this is not coincidence. You didn't click this video by accident. This message was meant for you right now, at this exact moment in your life. So listen carefully. Stop doubting yourself. Stop delaying your growth. Stop ignoring your calling, because the world needs what you carry.